Welcome to Easily Entertained. My name is Bryson Olson, and here we talk about all the good aspects of entertainment. I've always been a fan of the Jurassic Park / Jurassic World franchise, so with the announcement and, of course, release of the new one, I gotta talk about it. So we're talking about Jurassic World Rebirth today. I know I haven't talked about the main Jurassic World trilogy yet. I've talked about the original 3 Jurassic Park movies, but I haven't talked about the Jurassic World movies yet. Don't worry, that's coming. I think I'm going to have it as a big video on its own instead of individual ones, so we're working on that, but I wanted to talk about Rebirth, so let's dive in.
This island was the research facility for the original Jurassic Park.
So to kind of get started with the story of Jurassic World Rebirth, to be honest, it's kind of what you expect. It's a pretty typical Jurassic World story. It's kind of like the formulaic one, which, you know, there's pros and cons to it. But, you know, typical group goes to an island with dinosaurs that has been abandoned, kind of like the second Jurassic World, not Jurassic World, the second Jurassic Park. There's a family that isn't really supposed to be there, but they're kind of doing things in the area, so they end up following along with this group that's going to the island. Dad's kind of an idiot for going anywhere close to these islands. You know, it's kind of like your survival dinosaur movie type thing, you know. You have characters that are there for money. You have your evil rich guy, as is usually the case. You know, it's a standard Jurassic Park formula. And like I said, there are pros and cons to having that. Some cons is obviously it's the same kind of story, okay? There's not a lot of uniqueness with Rebirth. And, like, it's fine, I guess. Like, I want more unique stories in this world because I love the Jurassic Park universe and knowing how all the intricacies work. Like, Jurassic Park has always kind of been like my MCU, where I just love knowing the little details about the world surrounding Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, like how dinosaurs affect real life, not real life, but like affect the world around them, what it means to like bring back extinct creatures, not genetic mutations, but genetic power being wielded in interesting ways. And I do like when they can do that, and sometimes they are able to, but Rebirth I don't think is necessarily that one. It's instead, I feel like, more about how like the capitalism side has focused a lot on the genetic power. Like, now all the dinosaurs are only surrounding the equator because just the world is too bad. So kind of like some climate commentary there, but also these guys are going there for money. They're like needing DNA from these dinosaurs in order to profit. And usually that is the case, but a lot of the times it's like that mixed in with more of the genetic side. And this one, it is more about the capitalism stuff rather than the like genetic side of things. What I do sort of like is like the reintroduction of like weird genetic mutations, mutants or hybrids. I like the idea of Jurassic World having done that, having the hybrid side. I don't always necessarily agree with their idea that like, oh, people are kind of sick of dinosaurs, and I don't think that would be really the case. But I do like the idea of companies like trying to profit even more, so they create hybrids for different purposes. Obviously, like in this one, you have the Mutodon, which doesn't have as much need as far as we know. Like, there is no real reason as to why the Mutodon was created. Maybe it was just as a test and experiment to see what you could combine. In the previous Jurassic World movies, you have the Indominus Rex, who is meant to be like a huge carnivore that's meant to be super scary. You have the Indoraptor, which is meant to be like a war machine. That is interesting. I like them figuring out ways to use genetic power and expand upon that, because I do think like it's not the, oh, people are sick of dinosaurs. It is the companies need more money. So they're like, how can we profit off this? And so it starts getting a little shady. So I like when they do that. And they have a little bit of that in this, like they do and they don't. Like, it's okay, we need to steal the money so we can make cures for different things, but like sell it at obnoxious prices, basically like all health companies kind of tend to do, which is awful. But at the same time, it's like, there could be different things. Like, what if instead it's like it's an underground breeding farm or something like that, where they're creating dinosaurs with the sole purpose of extracting DNA and experimenting on them for either like like medicinal things, or for like hair products or skin products, things like that. Like, dive into more animal testing type stuff. I think that could be really interesting. I like that idea. And I think there's just areas in this world that they could have gone instead of having to go back to the islands. I also don't really care that some of the dinosaurs don't really act like animals. I'm not a huge fan of that. That's not really my vibe. I like when they're more like animals instead of just movie monsters. Like the D-Rex was supposed to be more like an animal that's in pain, but you don't really feel that during the movie. But there are some that do seem to act more like animals, which I think is good, like the T-Rex, or you have the Titanosaurs, or even the Mosasaurus and the Spinosaurus. Like, they don't seem to be acting out of malicious intent like how some of them have in the other Jurassic World movies, but instead just acting as animals, whether they're hunting or mating or just different things like that. And it feels a little bit more natural rather than just, oh, we're gonna just try and kill the humans for the sake of killing the humans. Like, that's kind of how the D-Rex is. But overall, the story, pretty generic. It's about what you would expect for a Jurassic World movie. It's not my favorite of the franchise, but you know, it wasn't Dominion, which, you know, was kind of weird. But anyways, on to the next bit. Come on! Duncan! Another aspect I'm kind of iffy on, and like sort of like a missed potential about Jurassic World Rebirth, is the acting. Okay, some of the cast, great. Okay, the lead three, man, I love their acting, and behind the scenes, it feels like they're really enjoying themselves. Love it. Okay, love that kind of stuff. I think it's great. Jonathan Bailey, Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, amazing. They're doing great. Absolutely love their acting. I think they're great. Their characters are interesting. You can, like I said, you can see the fun they're having. They're doing a pretty good job at portraying their emotions, even with some kind of bad writing. Like, you know, Jonathan Bailey's character, Dr. Loomis, he's a scientist, just like he's a paleontologist that knows a lot about dinosaurs, but he doesn't know certain animals aren't dinosaurs, like the Mosasaurus and the Quetzalcoatlus. Those aren't dinosaurs, if you didn't know. They are reptiles, but they're not dinosaurs. He should know that as someone who talks about dinosaurs. That's more like something Scarlett Johansson's character or Mahershala Ali's character would not know. They would be like, oh, the Mosasaurus and the Quetzalcoatlus, the like flying and water dinosaurs. And you'd be like, whoa, those aren't actually dinosaurs. Like, it's like a stupid nitpick, but if you know anything about dinosaurs, you know they aren't dinosaurs. They just would have happened to live at the same time. Anyways, but some of the bad writing sometimes takes away from it, but they're doing a pretty good job of trying to carry it with their acting. I have no problems with their emotions or the way they're portraying their characters or even their character growths. I think those are pretty good. They're not really having a whole lot of issues for me there, which I think is great. However, the acting that I did not hugely care for is the family that gets involved. It's the dad, his teenage daughter and her boyfriend, and their young child. The young child, kind of fine. Okay, their acting not really terrible. Like, it's a child and they're in a Jurassic Park movie. It's kind of like par for the course. They got it locked down. The dad, it's hit or miss. hit or miss. Sometimes they are like convincing, and sometimes you're like, what did you just say to me right now? And like I said, I think some of it is due to the writing in this movie. I don't think it's as polished as it could have been. It definitely could have had some little tweaks to just fix some of that stuff. You know, that wouldn't have been too hard, I think, but I don't know. But the teenagers, they are definitely a hit or miss sometimes. Like some scenes, they're completely fine. But sometimes it's like my complaint with How to Train Your Dragon, where they feel kind of TikToker actors. Like they're almost influencer acting and not actual acting, which I don't hugely love that we get in movies now. Because I'm like, bro, have a proper acting coach. Or they probably do. Maybe listen to your acting coach and actually act like a normal person and not like an influencer. So sometimes their emotions can feel a little bit forced at times. So I don't really love that. I would like their emotions to be a lot stronger. I feel like while kid actors in the Jurassic Park movies aren't always amazing, you can also still feel for them, get connected to their emotions, and actually feel the fear with them of being in a strange place or being in a scary situation. And I didn't really feel that way with the family in this movie. But there are like good spots. Like I said, you have the main three. They're pretty good. The opening sequence actually is pretty solid. It's kind of dumb, but the acting, solid. Okay, when the D-Rex breaks out, the scientists really sell the fear, and I love that. Okay, I think that is fantastic. I love when they are like acting like scientists and like actually being able to do things, and it makes sense why they're doing things on camera, and you're like, oh, okay, I like this. This kind of makes sense why they're doing this, and you can kind of follow along with that. And then when things go awry, you can actually see them be really scared. And while this is all like fabricated because it's all dinosaurs, so it's CGI or practical effects or whatever, most of the dinosaurs act like animals, which I love. And I think a lot of times people are like, oh, but we want like that movie monster. Sometimes realism can be way scarier. The scene with the T-Rex, it doesn't feel like it's acting out of malicious intent, but it's more curious about the boat, and that causes it to like kind of freak out and try and kill it. It's in its territory. Why is it in there? And it's a strange thing. It doesn't really care as much about the people, like it does to an extent, but it's also more about the boat, because this is a big, brightly colored object that's in its territory that feels unfamiliar. That is just something that an animal would do. They'd be very curious and they'd want to get it out. And I don't feel like that scene with the T-Rex felt any less scary. Like, obviously I don't really care about the family. I'm like, I don't really care. You haven't made me connect with these people. But the scene itself, pretty good. I like just the way it was acted in that regard. But obviously there are some dinosaurs or hybrids or mutants or whatever that don't really have that same vibe to them, but I feel like a lot of the main dinosaurs we see do, and I think that's great. We love good acting all around for the most part when we really need it.
Let's go.
If we get this DNA, millions of lives are saved.
Okay, now I want to talk about what I want more from this movie. Okay, I've already talked about like how they could have tweaked it, but they did introduce some ideas that I think would be really cool for them to expand for future movies or TV shows and stuff, like Chaos Theory. They got a lot of stuff that I think they could expand on and tell some more stories. The R&D department that was on this like Site C or Site D or whatever, this new island. I want to know what are some of their other experiments that went wrong, what succeeded. I want to know, like, if the D-Rex and the Mutodon are what failed, what succeeded. I want to know that. Like, was that the Indoraptor and the Indominus Rex, or was that something else? I want to know about the R&D department of Jurassic World. I want to see the consequences. I want to see the events as they're actually taking place. Like, maybe we have a trilogy that focuses on those different kind of things. I'm not saying we have to have that, but I like the idea of learning more about their research and development, because they have been getting a little shady. InGen went a little crazy, you know. I want to see how that goes. They also briefly talked about it in this movie, but the environmental impact on dinosaurs. Like, discuss more about the climate change, on how that is affecting dinosaurs, or how dinosaurs are affecting the world around them. We get a little bit of that in like Jurassic World Dominion, of like watching dinosaurs in the wild, and we get a little bit of it in like Chaos Theory, but not as much as I think we'd really like. I'd love to know more about dinosaurs in the existing world. Like, maybe let's go a few years before Rebirth and let's follow a team that goes on like a safari type expedition to want to study dinosaurs, and someone like, obviously you can follow the JP formula of like some guy that wants to capitalize off of it, but you can still tell a unique story while also still having some of those usual formula beats that make a Jurassic Park movie. I think some side stories kind of like this that are not really not really tied to the main Jurassic Park like character line, like Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, like those original movies, they all kind of tie together. Even like the World trilogy eventually ties back into the original stuff. I like this where like they're interacting with InGen things and the dinosaurs, but they're not really in line with anything InGen had. They are just using it as a byproduct. And I like that. I want things like that, almost like in the Star Wars movies where we got like Rogue One or Solo, where things could be a little bit separate, but still connected to the world overall. I'd love to see more side stories like that, or even like in the universe, Chaos Theory or Camp Cretaceous, like they involve the islands and stuff, but also they're trying to tweak it around a little bit more. I like when they can do that. I'd love to see more of that. I also would love to see more dinosaurs, highlight more of them, and not just the usual like common ones that we get. I don't need to always see the T-Rex or the Raptors. I'd love to see like even ones we have seen. I'd love to see more of, like the Dilophosaurus. I feel like we usually see them almost as infants. I'd love to see them portray like a huge, full-grown Dilophosaurus, more based on real life, because Dilophosaurus was pretty big, actually, and they could probably be pretty scary. You could have some interesting ideas if you introduce them, maybe have more highlights on ones that just haven't had a lot of attention before in the Jurassic Park franchise. You could go with ones like similar to Dilophosaurus that have unique visual traits like Cryolophosaurus. You could have Carcharodontosaurus. You could have other sauropods. You could have other hadrosaurs. You could focus more on like the pachycephalosaurs or just different things like that. Like, you don't have to just focus on the like main little ones. Like, I would love, like we've seen Allosaurus technically in the movies. I'd love to see more in the movies, like have that be more of a focused one, kind of like Battle at Big Rock or how we've seen in Chaos Theory. I'd love to just get more dinosaurs some focus, and just ones that maybe we haven't really discussed before in this universe. I think that would be great. I'd also love to just have them discover more unique places. I don't think it has to be islands like how the movies tend to follow, but I'd like it if they went more like the Chaos Theory route, where they could be in different places, especially after events like Fallen Kingdom and Dominion, where dinosaurs have been traded in a black market, where they've gone all over the world. We could get some very unique stories and very unique settings that don't just have to be, oh, we're on a tropical island running from dinosaurs, that kind of stuff. Like, there are more stories to be had and more unique stories to be had. And like, take like the analog horror community for Jurassic Park, or even just like the short films that people make. There are so many opportunities that we could have to really dive into this world. Like, Jurassic Park is a franchise I don't think they will ever want to get rid of. And I don't blame them. I'm forever a Jurassic Park / Jurassic World shill. I will always go watch them at the movie theater because they're so fun, and I love dinosaurs. They're great. But I want more stories, unique stories set in that universe. I don't care that all the dinosaurs aren't always accurate. That's fine. Okay, it's like a par for the course, and like you can even have some in-canon explanations as to why. Like, they are genetically spliced with other things. They're not always going to look like truly accurate dinosaurs, and that's totally fine. I think we understand that, but maybe sometimes mixing in a little bit of reality, but also giving us that Jurassic Park feel and allowing us to just know a little bit more about the world and the dinosaurs. I think that would be awesome. I really want more. Okay. While this movie had some downsides and some good sides, I think the best part of it is it makes me want more within the universe. That's not just, oh, we're going to an island to see some dinosaurs. Let's switch it up. You know, people complain about Jurassic World for that, like the trilogy. But I like that they get off the island and kind of mix it up a little bit more. I think that's always a good time. But that's my thoughts on Jurassic World Rebirth. Kind of continuing in that, let's talk about our rating. If you don't know our easily entertained rating scale, from least to best, it is garbage, once is fine, right mood, quotable, go to, and all day, every day. And I would say Rebirth is probably at a right mood for me. Like, it's not the worst of the franchise by any means, but it's not my favorite. But I want more out of this universe. Okay, so it's a right mood for now. But I want more of like Zara Bennett and Dr. Loomis and Duncan. I want to see more of them. I'd love to see their story continue and bring us some more dinosaur antics in this universe, or more side stories. I think that would be great too. So we're going to go right mood for now. Yeah. If you have a different rating for Rebirth, please let me know down in the comments, because I'd love to know, even if you have a different opinion than me. But that's it for this episode of Easily Entertained. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe so you can be notified of all new episodes when they release every Tuesday. It's always a great time. And if you have ideas for movies, video games, books, TV shows, any media that you'd like to hear me talk about in the future, you should also comment that down below, and maybe I'll get around to it. But until next time, bye.